We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State, except for next week, but more on that later. Welcome to On the Shane page. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. And I am joined by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, we'll talk more about later next week. If you think we moaned about doing a day early twice in a row, just wait till Christmas, because that's a real nightmare for film guys. Yeah, if I sound very croaky this week, which I think I may, hopefully my voice holds out. I don't know, Shane, is in the States, is like the work Christmas party a big thing? Or is it a very UK thing? I feel like you have Thanksgiving that's bigger.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's definitely bigger. I feel like work Christmas parties are probably a thing. I've just never really had those jobs. Like, we're teachers. We're just like, yes, it's over. Let's go home. So
yeah, I think,
I've never had
in
that.
The UK, it's a big deal. And our big one was Friday, and I'm still physically recovering apparently. So my voice is hanging in there. But yeah, hopefully we'll get through it. I watched this game Monday, which is a weird game for me, actually, because this wasn't, not that any of you care. Like, I still get tweets of people saying, how do you watch it? So I always watch it because I record it on TV, but this game wasn't televised in the UK. So I had to log into like DAZN, and their broadcast is just horrendous. So I ended up watching this on the Game in 40, which I've not done for an Eagles game in years. Like, I've not watched a game in 40 in forever. So I ended up like sort of just rewinding loads of plays. But it was quite strange. I couldn't see any replays. So All-22 was like really important for me, because I got no TV replays at all. But I loved this game. I really, really enjoyed watching it. I feel like the score does not reflect how dominant the Eagles were, without like a couple of fumbles and a couple of penalty decisions we might talk about later. Like, the Eagles hammered them. So yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this week a lot, especially after all the comments. So there you go. Yeah, in a good mood. This should be a good stuff. I think this mainly going to be a positive show. Unlike last week where we moaned about the offense for basically about an hour, this week's probably going to be very different.
Yeah, GGN chiming in here says you should have watched the Shane cast. So I did something I've never done before. I did a live stream with Mark, my co-host on Chalk Talk, and we couldn't like show the game, but we just had like the clock at the bottom so people could sync up with us, and we basically just talked through the whole game. And so I feel like I alternated back and forth between like calling stuff play by play and just like having random conversations about the game. And it was a lot of fun. So you guys, I mean, I don't know if you're rewatching the broadcast of the game, but if you want to pull us up side by side, it's on the YouTube. It was a lot of fun to do for sure.
The question for the comments is Shane Happ or Tom Brady? I guess how much is he getting paid for it? The God knows how many billion man versus the free man on Twitch. That's the real question, Shane. What do we do in our life to not get millions of dollars to call a game? But there you go.
Yeah, if Fox wants to hit me up, I'll do it for significantly less than Tom Brady. But I did
significantly less. We're talking significantly less.
Yeah, I fully appreciate the people. Like, I'm like on the Shane cast trying to like look up stats as we go, and I like they have such a cheat code having an ear monitor in where people are feeding them stats, and like they can access their own replays, and I'm like, oh, I want to see that again, and then the broadcast doesn't show a replay, so I'm like, but I guess we can't talk about it because the broadcast won't show a replay. But it was fun. But yeah, it's definitely not something I'm going to do every week. I missed tweeting clips, but it was a lot of fun to do, so we'll do it again sometime down the road.
Awesome. We never know. I may join for the occasional one. I will be on the instant reaction this weekend, as it is a early game. It hasn't been flexed, has it? I think they came out today and they said they weren't going to change it. So there you go. Right. Shall we? I know we did the offense first last week, Shane, but should we do the offense first again? Because I feel like we spent so long talking about the passing game last week that we may as well talk about the good stuff that we saw in the passing game this week. I've looked at our 3 points and we're just not talking run game this week at all, which is weird because the Eagles ran the ball quite a lot. There was just nothing really to note, like schematically. Like, what the Eagles run game does. They didn't dominate this week. The Steelers played the run very aggressively, and the Eagles threw the ball more. So I think there's a lot more interesting schematic stuff to talk in terms of the passing game this week.
Yeah, let's do it. We will try not to spend a full hour on the offense again like we did last week, but
yeah,
no promises, but we'll try not to. Johnny, do you want me to start us off?
Yeah, before we do that, I've just got a couple of random comments in, and someone saying, "What's my favorite Phil Collins song?" I don't, is that like a UK reference that we all love Phil Collins? Is he hated in America or something? Is there a joke intended I'm missing in that?
I am not the person to ask any questions about music.
He's definitely like a UK singer, Phil Collins. I just like the same song that every single person in the UK likes, which is "In the Air Tonight," because about 10 years ago there was like an advert on TV with a gorilla smashing the drums, and if you ask anyone from the UK, they know exactly what I mean. And if you don't, Google it, and you will later on. People are just trying to get me to do this longer and longer. Kev already coming in with a 4-hour podcast. It's 7:30 here, Kev, and I've got an offense and defense article to write after this as well. So if you want me to sleep, then the 4-hour pods will not be coming anytime soon. Right, basically, long behind the curtains, we each post 3 points each, and Shane posted his 3 thoughts before mine, and I read his and went great. He's just done everything I want to do. So we're going to dovetail quite a lot. Do you want to start, Shane, with, I feel like the biggest thing this week was empty. And It's one of the things that you were going to talk about. If you're not in the Patreon, which you should be if you're listening, because the Discord is amazing. But if you're not, I also post like a fan into the stats page and just abuse Shane's. Shane basically says, if you're in the Discord, everyone listening, $3 a month, you can just ask him whatever you want and he will look it up for you. It's like I have that Tom Brady research guy. He's not in my ear.
If I can find it. I have had to tell somebody on one before. I was like, I don't know how to find that. But
yeah, we didn't only happened once. But, so yeah, this week I watched about the first 3 drives and I was like, this is an empty week. So I straight away put in the Discord chat. I was like, Shane, give me the empty numbers. And it turns out I was right. This was a week with a lot of empty. So do you want to start us off, Shane, by talking about the Eagles' use of empty in this one?
Yeah, let's do it. I do want to shout out a couple comments. Krabby Oldman said he tried to guess what I do and all he could come up with was teacher. And Jason says, I'm probably a history teacher. I was. So I was a history teacher. I taught history and financial literacy and I coached. Now I'm a tutor. I don't actually work in a school currently, but that is, Johnny and I are like the same person from a different continent. History teachers that love the Eagles, but
there you go.
I don't know.
Let's in Philadelphia.
Yeah. All right, let's dive in. The Eagles in empty a lot this game, and I love empty. I have for years. There's so many, especially if you're playing a single high team, and the Steelers want to play single high. Going empty really stresses the defense because it's stretching your hook defenders horizontally, and you have one less deep zone because you're only got the single high safety. And so it really stresses him. And the Eagles did a lot of stuff off of that. And it's how they got the pass game in a rhythm early in the game. It's something, the Eagles have struggled with. And so on the first play of the game, the Eagles run a little stick nod concept, and stick nod is basically like we're breaking out with the tight end. And then you get the nod part of this route up the seam, and Jalen Hurts rips this. And I thought this was really good design, but this is a really good throw. Like when Hurts plans to throw this ball, this isn't a huge window, and he has to put this ball over the top of the linebacker. Grant Calcaterra goes up and makes the catch. And so, yeah, that's just a nice little play. And it was nice to see them come out, and rather than bashing their head against a brick wall in the run game when the Steelers are loading the box, just take what the defense is giving you. And it's something they did a lot in this game. We get into the next play that I want to show, and this is going to be they're going to run a drag. And you sort of get like interference from the tight end here, kind of like it's mesh, except it's not. He's really running like a sit route. But they get this alert route to A.J. Brown that we've talked about in the past that, hey, if you like the look, why don't you go ahead and take that shot? And the drag's wide open. You can see, look how wide open Devontae Smith is on this drag route. But Hurts got the look that he wanted, and he throws it up. And I'm not going to be upset about that because that's not a 50-50 ball when it goes to A.J. Brown. And I will be consistent and say later in the game when they run that same thing and get the same look with Devontae Smith wide open and he throws it up to A.J. Brown and it's incomplete, I don't care. Like, if you're going to throw that, I would care if it's like 3rd and 4. On 1st and 10, I do not care. Anytime you want to give me A.J. Brown one-on-one on 1st and 10, let's do it. I thought this was a really cool one. This is a 3rd and 3, and the Eagles come out in 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, and you've got a running back out wide, but they go empty. And so the Steelers are in a base defense at this point, expecting the run, like 3rd and short. The Eagles like to run. And all of a sudden now you've got Patrick Queen, a linebacker, he's a really good linebacker, but he's out at the boundary playing a cornerback technique, trying to track a running back in motion, running a drag route through all kinds of traffic. And he just doesn't have the skills to do that. He gets tripped up. He falls down. That's as easy of a 3rd down conversion as you're ever going to see. And it wasn't just the pass game that worked. It was mostly the pass game, but they did run one run out of empty. And I guess, Jonny, would you call this empty? I call this empty, but you get the running back and then he motions out. I'm going to chart this as empty. I'm going to call this.
Yeah, I would as well, because the look they get in the box is the look that they want to get from empty. People also know that I don't care about what you call things half the time. Just care about what actually happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get Saquon running out and you get him tracked, I think it's Patrick Queen again. All of a sudden you've got 5 blockers. You've got 5 guys in the box. Like, this is just an easy run look. And it gets even easier because the linebacker's blitzing and he's not blitzing where the Eagles want to run the football. And so Jalen Hurts is off to the races. He makes the safety miss and he gets a big gain. And you can see from the back view again just how wide open this gets, because 6, which is Patrick Queen, goes out. 41 blitzes through the B gap. They might have even wanted to run there initially, because if you watch, Cam Jurgens like pulls that direction and Jalen Hurts just takes it up the middle anyways, because it's so wide open. And so the Eagles went empty a lot in this game. They did so with a lot of success. This is one of those stats that Jonny mentioned in the Patreon. This is what he asked for that I tweeted out, the screenshot from our Discord. But the Eagles were in empty on 10 of 77 plays. 1 was that design 23-yard run. Of their 9 pass plays from empty, Hurts was 7 of 9 for 116 yards and 0.772 EPA per dropback. That's triple his EPA per dropback, not from empty. Their success rate was 66.7% versus 51.6% when not from empty. Their explosive play rate was 44.4% versus 6.5% when not from empty. And so the Eagles came into the game with a very definite game plan to get into empty. They did it, and it worked to perfection.
Yeah, it was the thing that stood out like immediately. And I don't really know why they haven't used it much. I think the end of last year, the Eagles were basically horrendous from empty. Like, something happened, something went wrong where, like, remember how they just used to run QB draw every game from empty and no one could stop it? And then at the end of last year, everyone stops it. And we were like, oh, okay. And they just haven't really gone back to it. But I think Hurts has always looked good from empty. I think it gets him favorable matchups. I think he reads the field pretty well, and just genuinely, like, body language wise, he looks very, very comfortable. Shane, I'm going to ask, we're going to do processing next. Both of us are going to do processing because we think it's probably such an important part of this week. But I wasn't going to include the first play of the game on the stick nod. I don't think you were either.
No. So
can you just bring up, because I thought it was something really cool about Hurts on the first throw of the game. People might talk about like the difference in how you call plays, like what we call like full field, like reads or pick a side and stuff. I think this is a really cool play because it's sort of like pick a side. And I want to show you like what I mean by that. So they've got 2 receivers at the bottom, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and gut check would tell you we're going to go to that side. And they've got 3 receivers up top. When you look at how the Steelers play this, basically the mic, what I would call the mic, or the guy, I think that's the one there. That's the one that I would circle here. He's going to make the decision for Jalen Hurts here. So Hurts probably wants to go to the left because he's got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But when that mic drops to that side, he then is basically, we were talking about football being a maths game. He's got 3v3 up top and 2v3 down bottom. And if you watch his eyes, the back does a brilliant job here. Sorry, go for it. Yep.
Let me interrupt you for just a second. I think that's Saquon at the bottom.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure AJ Brown is on the stick route.
I don't know why I thought it was. He's clearly Saquon because his quads are like twice the size of the guy next to him. I don't know. Maybe it
doesn't change anything about your point. Just
I think actually it was AJ out and Devontae in. But yes, you are correct. It is definitely Saquon because you can see the legs. And if you look, the other angle was brilliant at this now. if you want to get technical, you can say Hurts gets through his reads here really quickly, but I think this is more about processing. This is a great angle. Watch him stare at 6, for those of you watching. The second 6 drops left, look how quickly he knows. And that's the benefit of empty. He always knows he's going to the right the second he sees 6 move. But it basically like simplifies things for you pre-snap. This is a pretty easy read, but Hurts does the correct thing, IDing where 6 is going. So I wanted to show that point just very briefly, because I thought that was just a really nice play. We are going to talk processing next. Before we talk processing, I will give you my point. I've really got a great deal of film of this, Shane. And I should have asked you in the Discord, actually, if there were any stats to back this up. And I wonder if you feel the same way. My point was going to be man versus zone. I think the Eagles are blessed to have 2 elite receivers. One definitely elite in AJ Brown, who his numbers this year, Shane, despite the fact all the Eagles do is run the ball, and AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts hate each other. His numbers are, and that was sarcasm. If you're not watching on video, you may miss that. His numbers are outrageously good. Like his yards per route run and stuff is a joke basically this year. And I put man versus zone, Shane, because this game felt so obvious to me that every time the Steelers were in man coverage, it felt like this. Is obviously not the actual numbers, but the Eagles went to AJ Brown. And every time the Steelers were in zone coverage, the Eagles went to Devontae Smith. And I think they've just got such different skill sets that make them such a unique attack. And it felt like basically whatever the Steelers did in this game, they were wrong. As I said, I haven't got loads of film clips to back it up. I don't know if the numbers back me up. I don't know how easily you can even get the numbers. And if I'd pre-planned this, I would have asked you beforehand. But I am pretty sure, because I can remember numerous AJ Brown catches. There's the one you've already shown on screen, down the sideline, one-on-one. He had another one on a big third down on the final drive where he absolutely bodies Joey Porter Jr. on an in route. He had another one on third down that was an in route. Whereas if you think of Devontae Smith's catches in this game, you get a lot of shallow crossing routes coming across the field versus zone. You get a deep in, which I know you're going to show in a second, which is processing, where Jalen Hurts moves Devontae Smith behind the linebacker and then fires it in there. And I can also remember one where Jalen Hurts starts to scramble and keeps his eyes down the field, and Devontae Smith does a great job settling into the zone. I think that was like 2nd and 20, and they ended up picking up like 20 yards or something. So I think it was just that was the other thing that stood out to me. The Steelers didn't really seem to have an answer. When the Eagles went empty and they went to zone, Jalen Hurts seemed to find an open receiver, and it was often Devontae Smith. Rocco commenting Gainwell, yet it was either Devontae Smith or Gainwell. When they played man coverage, it was like, where's AJ Brown? Because the Steelers were not going to double AJ Brown. Their system was, we're going to cover him one-on-one. And basically every time they went man coverage, it felt like Jalen Hurts went to AJ. So I don't know if you've got any numbers for that. I don't know if anyone commenting knows any, have seen anything online, but it felt really evident this week that is where the Eagles were going.
Yeah, AJ Brown had 6 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown against man coverage.
There you go. Yeah,
he had 2 catches for 21 yards against zone coverage on the season. Yeah, on the season, Brown has averaged 4.9 yards per route against man coverage, which leads the NFL.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that is absurd. He honestly, actually, do you know what? Screw this. I said I was going to show a film clip. I will show one. I think it is play 10 of my film thread. Like, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon this week. He had a couple of routes, and we don't really talk about AJ Brown being like a precision route runner. This is just a straight up like quick in. But he absolutely ruins the coverage at the start. The explosiveness he shows, he's sort of like, thanks to him, he's going outside. He does push off, but he's within 5 yards, and he just explodes inside. Like, he explodes inside. He had 2 or 3 routes like this in this game, Shane, where he doesn't get enough credit, man. We talk about him like a jump ball specialist, a yards after the catch specialist. He can do everything. Like, I don't mean there's a route that I don't want him running. He can do absolutely anything. And yeah, he was really, really good against man coverage in this one.
Yeah, and Joey Porter Jr. is a very good cornerback too. So, and Joey Porter Jr. won some reps. You know, you had that jump ball that he won. I mean, it was incomplete, but AJ Brown was dominant in this game, and as he should. I thought the Steelers' game plan in this. I said this in the Discord, but the Steelers' game plan defensively was so bad this week. Like, they just came out and cover one blitzed like nonstop, which is just saying we're going to get 5 rushers against 5 offensive linemen because we think our pass rushers can beat your offensive line. Big mistake. Faster than AJ Brown can beat our cornerbacks. and that did not work for them. And they continued to do it, and it did not work for them. And they did the same things on offense, running out of 12 personnel, but we'll get to that later.
Yes, indeed. Right. I think the biggest thing about this week, more than anything, was the ability of Hurts to process and get to things quickly and get into a rhythm. So we've already done a bit on empty, which, was a big difference. We'll see if it continues. I think Sirianni was pretty clear in his press conference. I watched him. He said, we didn't try and pass this week. He said that was just the game plan we needed this week. And you know what? I believe him, because they couldn't run the ball like they wanted to against his defense. Whether empty sticks around against teams that play more too high and stuff, we will see. But I thought this was the best Hurts played from a processing standpoint that I've seen ever in a long time. Starts off, because I'm going to basically just choose whatever you don't cover, because I've got numerous clips I could show. So if you start off, we're both going to do processing, everyone, for our second point, because we had to talk about it. So you talk about some clips, and then I'll talk about some clips to impress me as well.
Okay, I've got 3 plays that I want to point out where I think Hurts does a really good job processing. On the first one, you have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown at the top of the screen, and Hurts is going to open to the top of the screen, and he's going to eliminate it really fast. Brown's going to run an out route. I think there's a pretty good chance that, I don't know if he had the option to go vertical or out, but there's a safety over the top. And so neither of these routes is going to win, right? If you're a corner and you've got safety help over the top, we're going to sit on the under stuff. Regardless, Hurts eliminates this really quickly, and he's just going to get to a drag. And I think it's Devontae Smith on the drag. But look, Hurts is already off of it. Brown is just barely breaking, and Hurts is already off of this route. And he just throws this little drag route to Devontae Smith. Boom, explosive play. You don't get a lot more clean looks to get explosive plays than that. Like, it's just a little pitch and catch drag route. But from the back view, you can really see, like, watch how quickly he's already off of A.J. Brown. And the ball's out. Like, that's really good processing after the snap. And that's not even his best one of the day. On this next one, they're going to run, I call it a wrap in concept. I've heard it called different things, but wrap in concept, we've got like this little hitch and we try to wrap in behind it. And at the snap, you're going to get Patrick Queen bails off the line. And this is just really congested. Now, this is a 3rd and 4. And watch how quickly Hurts gets off of this. Like, this just isn't going to work. You've got 4 guys sitting over these 2. It's not going to work. And Hurts is just quickly going to bounce over to Gainwell coming out of the flat. Look how quickly he gets to him. 3rd and 4, puts the ball on him. Gainwell makes a guy miss, and he gets the first down. Gainwell can't make that play if Hurts is as late throwing it as he was the Jahan Dotson flat ball last week. And we talked about that one then, that it just took too long to get to the check down. Just watch from the back view how quickly he checks this down. Boom, the ball is out. Giving it to your running back in space with a chance to make a guy miss. I thought that was a really good play as well. And then this one I think is my favorite one. You get A.J. Brown coming in motion. And A.J. Brown off the snap is going to run a slant route. And the slant route is not going to be open. And Hurts is going to eliminate it before A.J. Brown even breaks. And we all know how much I hate backside timing routes, but you've got Devontae Smith on a backside timing route, and Hurts is actually on time to throw this. He doesn't throw it because it's not open, and they go into scramble drill, but he's on time to throw this. I wish it was open so I could be like, we hit a backside timing route. But he's already off of Brown, and Brown hasn't even broken. Like, if this is open, he's on time. He could make this throw. It's just not open. And so he stays in the pocket, calmly buys time, directs traffic. You find Devontae Smith for an explosive play anyways on 2nd and 14. I just thought Hurts was really good processing in this game. We'll show this one again from the back view, and then I'll turn it over to you, Jonny. But just look how quickly, again, looking at Brown, boom, we're off of Brown. Nobody's open, staying in the pocket, ball right on the hash. That's perfect. I was very impressed with Hurts from a processing standpoint in this game.
Yeah, it's weird because some QB guys online have said the Eagles have no drop back passing game. So I'm not sure what they were watching after this week because he got through his reads. Like some of the checkdowns, I'm going to show another one as well. Like if you want to be like really pedantic, you can say, well, he got to his 5th read within like 2 seconds. Like he's quick. He's processing stuff quickly. A couple of comments as well, which Matthew's already like, no hero balls, basic mid-distance throw and catch with quick in-sync timing. Yeah, it was just good. It was just good quarterback play. Like, it was a good game plan. The Eagles were just in rhythm. They did exactly what they needed to do. I know they only scored 27 points, but there were things that went against them. And they didn't take the ball for very long, but it felt like they were in really good rhythm. Shane already talked about some plays processing. I've already spoken about one already. The first play of the game that I mentioned is a really good example of processing, but there was a few others that I really liked. I'm now scrolling to see what ones that you haven't shown. So play 6 on my film thread. The Eagles are so good against the blitz this year. They are so good against the blitz this year. This sort of combines my previous take about the Eagles versus man coverage. So this is the classic Steelers look that you hate, Shane. If you're a Steelers defensive coordinator, they send 6. Just simple. Eagles leave, Saquon Barkley into block. And again, it's a very, very simple route. It's not rocket science, but it's still very quick processing. Hurts knows what he's going to get, and he actually throws this extremely early before he even hits his drop properly, which I think is really nice. There's nothing too difficult here. I think my favorite one by a mile of processing this week, and this is easily my favorite play of the week, is play 9 on my film thread. And in fact, based on looking at my film thread, you've already covered the other one, so I'll end it here. So this is the exact same look. If you just pause it, Shane, before the play, this is the exact same look the Steelers have got on the previous snap. So it looks like they're going to send 6, yeah? So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line of scrimmage. So Jalen Hurts is probably expecting potentially a blitz here on 3rd down. And he doesn't get a blitz. The 2 linebackers actually drop. And if you just pause it almost like immediately after the snap, Shane, basically he realizes very quickly, sensibly, that they're 2 basically on 4 on the right-hand side of the screen. So that there's no point going to that side. You can already see a triangle, and one of the off-ball linebackers is dropping in. So there's no point. Don't throw to the side that's 4v2, which means the other side of the field, you've got 3 on 3. So you do the maths. He immediately, we talk about processing, knows he goes to his left. Now, a check down is normally 1 to 2 to 3. You read it 1, 2, 3. But here, Hurts basically knows, because that linebacker's dropped, he's got to get out to Gainwell. So he's basically going to be responsible for getting out to Gainwell. There's no way these 2 downfield routes on the left are going to work. So he just doesn't really let them even develop. He just gets the ball straight to Gainwell. And this is what we talk about quick processing. This is not like easy. This is good. And yes, Gainwell makes a play. And yes, you could say, well, if he's tackled by the quarterback, we don't get the first down. But that's playing NFL. Like, that's playing quarterback. You need your guys to make plays. Exactly what you said earlier on. You give your guys a chance to make a play. It is a fantastic play by Gainwell, but it doesn't happen if he doesn't throw it to him early. He's essentially one-on-one with a cornerback because a linebacker doesn't really get out there. He sort of does, but he's already sort of past him. And this is really, really good processing. Like that's good stuff because the Steelers have blitzed a lot. They've got 6 men on the line of scrimmage. Hurts is probably could easily be expecting a blitz, and if he is blitzed, he may have a different route built in or something. But he basically knows, right, what side am I going? I'm going left because I've got the numbers. I need to get it out there straight away. He just looked really comfortable this week. He looked really, really good. And I think we've said this before. I go on about this all the time. Yards after a catch are a QB stat. So Gainwell's 2 plays, yes, they're excellent, but the QB makes a difference. And same as tackling. When the Eagles couldn't tackle, why could they not tackle? Because they played deep and they had to rally to the ball every single time. And offenses were picking them off in the short game and giving them chances to break tackles. Jalen Hurts gave people like Kenny Gainwell chances to break tackles. I think his ball placement was good. I think his accuracy was good. I think he had a couple of throws at AJ Brown where he threw behind him deliberately to make AJ catch it and then gave him a chance to make yards after the catch. It was a proper QB performance. The run game did not carry the team this week. Hurts did. So I know you're going to talk about a little bit negative, I imagine, in terms of the sacks because the Eagles have taken too many sacks this year. But for those of us panicking about Hurts, I've been consistent. I don't think that I've not been worried about Hurts, even when the passing game wasn't going well. I've long said I think it was an overall design issue. I don't think the Eagles did anything dramatically different this week. It was just more empty. And it was more in rhythm. And I think Hurts processed things really, really well. So I imagine him, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Kellen Moore, they had a bit of a crisis meeting this week. I imagine AJ Brown's comments did make a difference. It seems like Kellen Moore maybe said to Hurts, right, what do you want to run? What are you comfortable with? What can we do to attack this defense? They ditched a lot of the play action stuff. And it felt a lot more streamlined and a lot more simplistic. So yeah, I thought Hurts processed things really, really well, like a traditional NFL quarterback should.
I'm trying to think now. Other than tush pushes, did they have an under center play in this game? I'm not remembering one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And we've been calling for like more under center play action, and I'm not opposed to it. I think the loss of Ben Van Sumeren has been a bit of a death knell in the under center stuff. He was legit good as a fullback, and I'm not sure they are. So, yeah, there we go. Well, Shane, before I go to your first point, I've just got to shout out this comment from Cargella. Firstly, welcome, joining live for the first time. Clearly a UK. This feels like an NFL version of Test Match Special. Wow. For those of you who do not know, a big cricket program. I love Test Match Special, so huge cricket fan. The Americans, Cargella, have no idea what you're on about when you say Test Match Special. But let me just say, for someone like myself who still plays cricket, that's very close to my heart. So thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I'm flattered nevertheless. Thanks for joining the show. All right, let's keep rolling then. I'll get into my third offensive point, which is the 3 sacks the Eagles took on 3 consecutive plays, actually. Jalen Hurts only took 3 sacks on the day. It was 3 consecutive plays to close out the half. And so, for guys like me that do a halftime show, you feel like you've dominated the whole first half, but all of a sudden you've had 2 drives in a row killed by sacks, and it's only a 7-point game. And at halftime, you're kind of like, okay, what happened? Why aren't we seeing the field? So let's talk about what happened. I've got all 3 of them pulled up here. On this first play, I'll just roll it here. I think Hurts could throw this ball to Jahan Dotson in a world where Jahan Dotson is looking for the football and he's not for some reason, which probably tells you a lot about why Jahan Dotson gets no targets. He's kind of literally like your built in right over the middle. Let's get you the ball. And he doesn't even look for it. Maybe he should flare this ball out to Kenny Gainwell. You could argue that he can do that. Hurts is going to try to step up and run. And it's easy to tell from the back view why he does that, because it does open up. But TJ Watt makes a good play to shed, and it's hard to scramble up the middle against TJ Watt. But if you watch here from the back view, Jahan Dotson, watch it. He's not even looking for the ball. He doesn't look for the ball until he plants his foot on the opposing hash. So there's no, Hurts could hit him with the ball, but so you can see why Hurts decides to run here. Like, this is a pretty good looking lane, but TJ Watt's just so athletic and is able to make that play. You scrambled up through the middle, so it's essentially a sack for 0 yards. It's not that big of a deal. On 3rd and 12, the Steelers show single high, but they're going to spin into 2 high. And this is a problem because they spin into 2 high, and the Eagles are essentially going to run vertical routes here with kind of a bender. And that works against single high because you're trying to hit this seam ball, right? But when it spins into split field, all of a sudden, now we're running right into the leverage of a safety. We're running right into another safety. Now, if you were trying to run verticals against 2 high, because you can do that, you want to hit the boundary shot. But to hit the boundary shot, you have to release outside the cornerback, and we release inside the cornerback. So there's really just kind of nothing there. Again, you could get the ball out underneath here. Perhaps it's 3rd and 12. The first down line's the 40-yard line, so you're probably not getting a first down regardless. Hurts tries to scramble and extend the play, and the worst thing that happens here is that he's running with one hand on the ball, and TJ Watt chops at it. And I don't know how Hurts hangs on to this ball. That was very fortunate. Watching it live, when I saw him rolling out, not knowing TJ Watt was there, in my head, this was already a fumble. So I'm glad he hangs on to the ball. He absolutely shouldn't have. That's the biggest mistake on that play. You get the ball back with 28 seconds left. You've called timeouts to get the Steelers to kick a field goal. You want to try to get into field goal range yourself, and you have to go fast. And I do think there's a problem when the Eagles are in a must-pass situation, 3rd and long, so down and distance related, or you're at the end of a half, or you're at the end of a game. We saw Hurts throw an interception with a chance for a game. It was a slim chance, I think, against the Falcons for a game-winning drive. But when the Eagles are forced to play fast, that's when the passing game gets in trouble, in my opinion. Because when the run game is in play, you can stop it like the Steelers did, but you have to overcommit and you make yourself susceptible to the Eagles' passing game. Here, the run game's not a threat. The Steelers are going to spin into cover 2 again. And I don't really know what this concept is for the Eagles. Something's not right at the bottom, but they spin into 2 high. and you end up with 3 guys all right here together. This looks like an option route that should totally break inside to me, but it breaks outside, and I don't really know why. We've got Jahan Dotson kind of getting caught up on a safety here. Everything's just too condensed, and there's really nothing there. Hurts tries to scramble up, and he runs into a looper, and he takes a sack. Again, not the worst outcome in the world with 20 seconds left, 60 yards from the end zone. It's not like it costs you points. The Eagles would take it to half. But again, you can see why he tries to scramble here. The problem is, like, at this moment, Hurts is like, wow, look at all this space. But they get a looper coming inside that gets him. And so, I do think it's worth mentioning that the Eagles, where I think most of their problems are in the passing game, is when you don't have to respect the running game, either due to time down and distance or time remaining. That doesn't matter until it matters. Hopefully you don't need a game-winning drive with 45 seconds left in a Super Bowl where teams can just sit on that pass and play too high and clog all those windows, because that's tough for any team. That's not a unique thing to the Eagles, but where the Eagles really thrive is forcing you to pick. Do you want us to beat you with our running game, which is what every team this year has picked, or do you want us to beat you with our passing game, which is what the Steelers picked, and they proved they can do either one?
Yeah, and as you said, it's easier throwing against single high, isn't it? It's been proven for a long time around the league that the last 5 years in particular, single high coverage is more predictable. It's easier to throw against. You've got more space on the outside. Right. All right. Stephen Ruiz is done moaning about Hurts, so I'm going to move on to my third point.
Is he?
No, he's definitely not. He definitely is not.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go see where he's at in the rankings now.
No, they might not be out yet because it's Tuesday this week. So didn't Spencer Rattler play this week? He might be above Hurts this week. He did play a whole half, so you never know. Right, I'm going to
led 4 consecutive scoring drives.
Yeah, there you go. Why did he not start, by the way? What a weird decision. But anyway, they play some random kid I've never heard of. But anyway, I'm going to do one final point on offense. And actually, we're going to be relatively concise here. We still have about half hour left, which is nice. Wow, is that Jalen Hurts on the front of the QB ranking, Shane? Is this why you built it up? Is this breaking news?
But it was updated December 11th, so I'm not sure why it's there.
Oh, no, he's been there because he hated him that week. That's why. He's definitely just that's so classic. Like, he's had one bad week after 8 good ones, and he's definitely stuck him on the front page to be like, I told you so. Christ, let's move on.
He's 15th.
Yeah, we've actually got time to talk about the defense at one show. We're not rushing the second half, which is good. I mean, we're still going to do more on the offense, but we're actually relatively concise this week. I'm going to talk about single concepts. We do a concepts a week every week. I'm going to do Devontae Smith's touchdown this week because I like it for a number of different reasons. We have pointed out the god of Twitter, Honest NFL, has called this NASCAR. I don't know anyone else who has ever called this NASCAR, so I don't care what you call it. I'm not a big fan of just calling plays for the sake of it. We know that the Eagles have a concept called crash, which is where the inside guy runs out and the outside guy runs in, and the Eagles run it all the time. This is like a variation of crash where you basically do the same, but you also have a guy running a sort of out and in the middle. The reason why I love this play, Shane, is basically we always talk about what makes a good NFL play, and there are basic things that make good plays, like the use of motion can help, but there's no such thing as a great play. Otherwise, everyone would run it. It's about what you're going to get and in the past couple of weeks. So the Eagles scored a touchdown that was played last week against the Panthers. And if you can't remember the play, it was where Devontae Smith ran an out and AJ Brown ran in, and everyone went mental and said the ball should have gone to AJ Brown. On this one, the reason why I like this is because being a good offense is not just about calling different plays every week. It's about calling the same plays and dressing them up in different ways. So this time they rotate. They put AJ Brown on the out and they put Devontae Smith on the in. So it's like a role reversal, which again is used to catch out the defense. They also put Devontae Smith in motion, which again adds another layer. And the ironic thing about this is I think the Steelers played this basically perfectly. Great timing. Someone just commented saying the Steelers did a great job of switching. Yeah, the Steelers play banjo here. Banjo is where so you don't get done by the pick. You essentially swap responsibilities. I feel like the Steelers are so well coached here and they play it really well. But it's still just a really, really good throw and a really good route. And what I really like about it, is firstly watch how Jalen Hurts throws around the blitzing safety as well. Minka Fitzpatrick, a little bit of the like sidearm there. It's just really good placement, and it's a really good play because it takes advantage of what you ran last week. And I also like a little motion, but I think it's really cool when you run a play and like the defense actually plays it well, and it's just such a good play it still works. So I will throw that there in this week's concepts of the week, not just because of the play, but because of how they used the same concept last week and they dressed it up differently this week. And that is how you make an offense successful. That is how you make things easy for a quarterback, because you're essentially just running the same stuff. You're reading out the same stuff, but you're dressing it up in different ways, and the defense doesn't know exactly what you're calling. I always think Sean McVay is the master of this. Rather than having just multiple different concepts, he runs similar stuff. And there you go. You've got, for those of you watching, there's the same play last week, but it's a complete reversal in roles. Last week, they ran it with Devontae Smith on the out, and they didn't use any motion at all, but you read it almost the exact same way. So there you go. That'll be my concept of the week.
And the Panthers, who are maybe not as well coached, just tackle each other.
Yeah. That also helps.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for the offensive side of the ball. Jonny, is this a record? We got through the first side of the ball in like 40 minutes. I don't know if we've ever done this before.
No, and it's also good because the defense didn't really deserve to go second this week. So sometimes there's an obvious thing to talk about. This week there wasn't, because the defense was really fun, like really fun. So it
also
deserves,
very short.
It was 41 plays. That was the dream. Oh my goodness, the dream. Like, film guys, when you see that number pop up, that was like Christmas. It was like a Christmas present. 41 plays.
Especially for trying to record the show a day early. So that was
it's also great for the players, by the way. Keep them fresh. Jalen Carter played like 70 snaps a few weeks ago. Like, give him 38 or whatever he had in this game, or maybe even less. So let's talk about it.
People are going to be looking at his snap counts in the playoffs and be like, "Oh yeah, the Eagles gave him a break in week 15." And like, "Oh no, he actually still played 98% of their snaps." They just didn't play much, but.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I'll kick us off, and I talked about how stubborn the Steelers were defensively. They were equally stubborn offensively. They were committed, absolutely committed to running the ball out of 12 personnel for 1 yard a carry, like every first down. It was fun. It's always nice when teams just punt away like their first down and just are committed to second and long. I tweeted one of the clips. It was like the fourth time they did it. And I tweeted out the quote from W.C. Fields that said, "If at first you don't succeed, try again, then quit. There's no point in being a fool about it." And the Steelers were certainly fools about it this week. So I'll just show a few plays here. There's more than this. But three defensive tackles is what the Eagles were doing against this. And just where is that going to go? Like, there is nowhere for that to go. And then again, 12 personnel. The Eagles get into base with 3 defensive tackles. And what I love about this play is Jalen Carter is heads up on the guard and he attacks the inside shoulder. And then he makes a play on the outside. And also, Nolan Smith does a really good job holding the edge here. But like, just look at the surface area here to attack in the run game. And Carter is able to get outside while being held, we might add, and he makes a tackle, like a 1 yard gain. Then you get Nakobe Dean is going to run blitz. He gets downhill hard. Josh Sweat gets involved in setting the edge out here. And they make another tackle. This one's on a 2nd and 8. It's like a 1 yard gain. Nothing was working for the Steelers in the running game. And then I'll show the final one I've got here. But this time you get Nolan Smith is going to set a strong edge again. You got your 3 defensive tackles, and it's Nakobe Dean that's going to run through. And he's going to get the tackle for loss. I think this one was. But it was an incredible performance from the Eagles in the run game. They went to their 3 defensive tackle look on 13 plays. Two of those were called pass plays, both of which turned into Russell Wilson scrambles. But of the 11 designed runs, they allowed 2 yards per carry and they forced a fumble. And so the Eagles' 3 defensive tackle set, I mean, it just works, especially if you're going to stubbornly run into it. And with George Pickens out, the Steelers' pass game really struggled. They didn't really have the ability to attack the base personnel in a way that I think teams would want to, certainly in the way that other teams might throughout the year. But if you can't throw out of 12 personnel, you can't play 12 personnel against the Eagles.
Yeah, I wanted that to be one of my points. I said this for a while. The Fangio disciples don't seem to have understood how to play the run from too high. The Eagles are just blowing that out of the water this year. Like, I put this in my first tweet this week. I said the Eagles make it sound like every yard against them is a personal insult. And it feels like that. Like, they're not content. Can you remember when we sat here in the days of, would it have been Gannon a few years ago, and we would say, like, yeah, on first down, guys, the Eagles are fine giving up 4 yards. Like, they're okay doing it. Can you remember? It was like a normal thing. That was how Fangio disciples played. It was like, yeah, they're perfectly fine giving up 4 yards on 1st and 10. This defense is like the polar opposite. They are outraged if you get 2 yards on 1st and 10. They want to make it their like lifelong goal to stop you getting a yard. Like, honestly, this week you showed a play by Josh Sweat. You showed that play by Jalen Carter in the run. There was a play by Nolan Smith in the run. The Kobe Dean was awesome. Zach Bourne was awesome. Milton Williams was good. Jordan Davis was good. Like, everyone had individual plays. Like, they are so collectively good against the run. Their spacing's really good. They don't get moved. They're aggressive. They don't just like stand there and wait to see where the running back's going. They get upfield quickly. It's not really what I expected from a Fangio defense in many ways, to be honest. But I'm really cool that we get to see it, to be honest. Right, I've got a Moni point and then 2 good points. I'm now debating where to go. I'm going to go and talk about someone that I talk about every single week, and I'm probably boring people talking about him, but I think Zach Bourne is absolutely outrageous. And we've been saying this all year. He's not just a good player, he's an elite player. And I am terrified still about the contract because I can't really express how well he's playing. Before I get to Zach Bourne, I will just shout out the Burton's comment saying Nolan Smith taking the next step. Yes, I agree. I think he has. I still don't think he's a fantastic pass rusher. People are going to say I'm bitter because I didn't think he ever would be. I think he's an up and down pass rusher, but I think he's good at everything. He's relentless in run defense. He can drop into coverage so much better than he could last year. And he can make 2 or 3 splash plays against the passer every week. He's not something that I would say every snap is like, wow, he's consistently winning, but he is creating big plays. A lot of it is through hustle, more than technique, in my opinion, still. But that could be a good sign, to be honest with you. Right, Shane, you've got the clips of Bourne, so remind me in order that you are showing. The first one is second play of the game, am I right?
Correct.
Yeah, this is just bog standard Zach Bourne. Like, this is just what he does every week. The Steelers and every other team tries to run like slant flat. They try to pick off Bourne, and Bourne just completely runs around them. And I think probably the greatest thing about him is he doesn't just get into the flat. He tackles so well. He tackles so well in space as well. Like, these kind of plays are just like normal. This is just standard. This is like, yeah, this is what Zach Bourne does. But this was by no means my favorite play this week. Right, I was waiting for this one. This is, I'm going to go on a limb, the most ridiculously athletic play you will see from a linebacker, except for maybe when Zach Bourne did the exact same thing about 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure anyone does this except Fred Warner. So basically, the Steelers are running play action under center. They get the perfect look. Sorry, it's a flea flicker, isn't it? It's not play action. Everything goes perfectly for them. They end up catching the Eagles in single high. They run like 2 like deep crossing routes, and Zach Bourne realizes the receiver is running in behind him. With a normal linebacker, this could be a touchdown because you could throw this ahead of him with space to run into, and he could easily score. Zach Bourne runs with him like a safety. And I'm not kidding when I say he runs with him like a safety. If he was a defensive back out there, if he was Reed Blankenship, you go, oh, that's a good play. He's not an off-ball linebacker. And what's crazy is you see this play and you think, right, well, I bet he struggles against the run coming downhill. No, he doesn't. He doesn't at all. He doesn't miss tackles. He's perfectly fine downhill. He's not as aggressive as Kobe Dean, but he's not miles off. He is amazing downhill. He is amazing in the flat, and he can run with receivers vertically. Like, I'm not kidding. It's Fred Warner and this guy. Like, he's that good. I dread to think how much he's going to get paid. I think we're long past that. It's a scheme fit thing. Mm-hmm. I think he's just obviously taken the next step. I don't think there's been many improvements like this in the NFL, and I'm hoping that other teams are a little petrified to pay him, because is he really going to be this good outside of the Eagles scheme? But I don't know. There's a lot of teams that run similar schemes to Fangio, and I'm guessing he's just mentally taken that next level, and he's always been a great athlete, and now he's mentally seeing it. If I was his agent, I would want him to stay here, because I think he obviously loves playing for Fangio's style. Huge credit to the Eagles linebackers coach as well, because it's not just Zach Ball. Nakobe Dean is playing out of his mind at the moment as well, and I'm so happy for Nakobe Dean. There's one more play, isn't there, Shane? But I'm guessing as you paused it on this one that you want to add something.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, everywhere Fangio goes, he leaves because like the defensive players hate him. And I just love that like the Eagles are bought in. Like they all seem to love Fangio. Everybody is having like who on this defense isn't having a career year? Like at the beginning of the year, you would have said Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was struggling, and he's turned it around. Like everybody else, you've got rookies and Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell having great seasons. Darius Slay is playing phenomenally. Jalen Carter is a monster. Josh Sweat's having a good year. Nolan Smith is breaking out. Like the entire defense has just been awesome. But
Avonte Maddox says hello, by the way.
Well,
by the way, did you notice just quickly before he was basically benched this week?
I did not.
No, so when the Eagles played dime, they played Isaiah Rodgers.
Okay.
So I think that may be the end of Avonte Maddox, unless there are injuries. It was pretty obvious that, if you go back and watch those snaps, Isaiah Rodgers was in there instead.
Yeah, I never noticed that. But on this flea flicker, I just love, like, look at the point. He starts to backpedal, and the running back still has the football. Like, he's already backpedaling. Like, he reads this out so quickly. And then to turn and find the over route, and then not just to find it, to flip the hips and run with it. Johnny, do you know who this receiver is?
Is it not? It's not Calvin Austin, is it? Who was it?
It is Calvin Austin. Yeah. Do you know what 40 time Calvin Austin ran at the combine 2 years ago?
No, but you're going to tell me.
He ran a 4.32 40-yard dash.
Jeez.
So this is your linebacker sniffing out the trick play, flipping the hips and running with a 4.32 speed receiver that's already behind him. And I mean, sure, it's underthrown a little bit. Like if this ball is dropped perfectly in a bucket, is it still maybe a touchdown? Yeah. He makes it an incredibly difficult throw. He makes it an incredibly difficult catch. It's just such a phenomenal play. That's the best play that I've seen from a defensive player this season for the Eagles. Like bar none. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is absolutely ridiculous. And Connor putting in there, Fangio was asked about dime, and he said that Rodgers has shown he deserves to be on the field. I feel like in the Discord, we've got lots of people that are very good at different things. Connor is the best when we're having these episodes live, just commenting from the press conferences. That's my way of saying get in the Discord, Connor. We need some... actually, we do have a few that are good at press conferences as well. I am lazy at watching press conferences.
Yeah, I need to watch those because... during the game, They said something about Hurts having a broken finger, and I was like, he what? I had no idea.
Yeah, it's quite funny how like film guys like us, we spend so much time watching the film, we don't have time for anything else. So we just ignore, Connor is Slim Reaper. Connor is Slim Reaper. Of course he is. You are the press conference guy.
Johnny's like, we do have one guy in the Discord that's good at it. This Slim Reaper
names.
guy.
As I said it, I was like, no, wait, we do have a guy, and that's on my brain like backtracked. Yeah, I knew that. It's these YouTube names that there's probably other guys as well that I miss. But yeah, I'm like you, Shane. Especially me, Shane. I don't live in the US. I watch stuff on Gaming 40. I don't hear anything. I didn't know Brandon Graham was injured until your tweet popped up on my timeline like 2 weeks ago, and you ruined my Monday morning. Like I miss so much stuff. I remember my favorite one was a couple of years ago. I was watching the YouTube highlights in the morning, and when Aaron Rodgers did his Achilles, and I was just watching with Jets. And I was like, oh, he looks like Zach Wilson. And then like 5 minutes later, I was like, wait, it is Zach Wilson. And then obviously I frantically just got on Twitter and it's like, oh, he did his Achilles. Like, what? I had no clue. So if you think you miss stuff, try being. Comment from Abby before I get in there. Yeah, join the Patreon. Every time I mention it, I make it sound like it's free. Apologies. If you want to support the show, it's $3 a month minimum. $4.50 or $5, whatever it is, to get Shane's All-22 video as well. When you join, there is a link to get him a Discord. You can
also join Patreon as a free member. And
Stop telling them this.
we occasionally put some of our, it doesn't get you in the Discord, but we do occasionally post, like, I will unarchive some of my All-22 videos, or every once in a while I just post one that's out for the free members too. So you at least get notified, but you can get a free week trial and check it out.
I looked at my Twitter yesterday and I realized I barely tweeted in between film threads. Like, I'm just not using Twitter a great deal at the moment, except for film. And it's because the Discord is my time now. Like, we've got people to pay and support the show. If you want to basically ask us literally anything, the Discord is the place to be.
We're also about to start running like a football simulation league in the Discord where
it's all going off. We've got we got so much stuff going on. We've got other people sharing other links to things. We got a stats guy. We got a cap guy in there. The cap guy is unbelievable. Like better than anyone I've seen on Twitter in terms of cap stuff. So you've got cap questions. Yeah, we're getting like roles in there as well.
Shout out Jimbo.
Yeah, Jimbo, legend. Right, let's go to final play from Zach Bourne, and then we'll talk about something else. This is the Eagles running whip. We've seen whip all the time. So it's where you drop the edge and you send a linebacker. So Josh Sweat drops, Jacoby Dean rushes. If you look at this pre-snap, Russell Wilson plays this perfectly because the blitzing linebacker is coming from the left to the strong side. So the answer is to check it down to that side. That is what a normal team would do. A normal team forgets they're playing against the Eagles who have Zach Bourne. So two things I love about this. Firstly, the Kobe Dean just blows past the center. He has turned into such a good pass rusher. And then Zach Bourne just charges out to the opposite side. And although he doesn't make the tackle cleanly, you then get the best thing about this Eagles defense. They are relentless at rallying to the football. I pulled out the Kobe Dean, Shane, but look at Reed Blankenship on this play again, for those of you watching. He's in the middle. He sees the tackle being made, and he's off. He's off. Even though Zach Bourne basically never misses a tackle, it's like, yeah, but you know what? He might miss a tackle. They're so well coached. They are so well coached in the fundamentals of playing football. Like, the scheme stuff is cool. He wasn't doing anything radical scheme-wise. Franjo's not going nuts. This isn't Brian Flores. They're not sending blitzes from everywhere. They're running cover 6, cover 8, cover 4, cover 3, cover 1 a little bit. They barely played man coverage in this game. It was all zone. They're just distributing routes pretty well. They're running to the football really well. They're playing the run really well. They're just doing all the basic stuff at such a high level. And I loved watching this defense this week. I don't think the Steelers offense is very good. I think they've got away with some fluky plays, but they got a good running game. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are good, and they couldn't get anything going at all. Right, move on, Shane, because we've got a long time on Zach Bourne.
We're going to need Reed Blankenship to have a word with Quinyon Mitchell, because Quinyon Mitchell had like a 4-yard lead to that, and Reed Blankenship flew by him. So
Quinyon was so good in this game, by the way.
He was.
Quinyon and Slay are awesome. Like, I saw Brian Dawkins come out this week and speak about Quinyon Mitchell and just said it's not normal. It's really not. I've been saying all year, like, he's going to get burned badly 1 or 2 weeks. He doesn't get burned badly. Like, I keep thinking he's a rookie cornerback. He's going to get beat. He's going to have one game where he just gets, like, hammered. He just doesn't. We're in week 15, and he's been good every single week. And yeah, favorite for defensive rookie of the year. How could he not be? Like, what more do you want the guy to do? Like, quarterback's a funny position. You can have someone like Sauce Gardner just drop off a cliff in their, second or third season? Yeah. It happens. But man, Quinyon is so good. Let's talk about someone else that's not one of our extra points, because Quinyon was not one of our points. Yeah. Talk me through something else, Shane.
Okay, I'll do a fast one here. Somebody mentioned that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson gave up another touchdown. T. Grant mentioned that, giving up a touchdown this week. I'm going to talk about this play and what happens. And I'm going to also kind of use it to backdoor compliment Cooper DeJean, because here's what happens. You get the motion out here, and I want you to look right now. Cooper DeJean is looking and he's pointing at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't know. We're reading body language. We're being body language experts here. But what I know is that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has help on the inside against the tight end. This is the Steelers' number 1 red zone threat, Pat Freiermuth, the tight end. He has help on the inside because Zach Bond is responsible for playing the inside and delivering him up to the safety, which means Chauncey Gardner-Johnson should be playing with outside leverage, watching so he can have him out leveraged if he breaks outside into all this space. What the Steelers are going to do, they're going to run everybody short underneath. It opens up, the old school like double China 7 concept. It opens up the back pylon. You don't want to be susceptible there. Cooper DeJean is pointing out to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, hey, you're not lined up in the right spot. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's on the hash. The receiver's outside the hash. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's playing with inside leverage. Now, maybe he's doing this to try to bait a throw. It's worth pointing out he almost picks this off, right? But the ball goes exactly where Cooper DeJean said it was going to, into exactly the space that Cooper DeJean was saying that he needed to take away. And so I don't know if this is just an alignment mistake from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't know if he's doing this on purpose to bait the throw. And it is worth pointing out again that he has hands on this football, and Pat Freiermuth just out-muscles him to take it away. But on the touchdown that he gives up, and you can sort of see Cooper DeJean's reaction here as he catches it and comes down. Cooper DeJean hands to the helmet. It's like, bro, I told you. What are we doing? So I did love that moment that you got a rookie that hasn't even been starting the whole season, and he's out there pointing out to a safety. We've talked before about his pre-snap communication. I think it was probably intentional from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I do think he's trying to bait the interception there, and he's very close to it. That's a play I'm okay with my safety trying to make too, by the way. Like, if you can bait a throw into the point that you get your hands on it and you've got the ball skills Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has, I generally think he's going to pick that off more often than it's going to be a touchdown. So I'm fine with it. But a lot of people were mentioning Chauncey Gardner-Johnson giving up the touchdown. I still think he's playing very well, and I'm not terribly upset about that one.
Yeah, I think he played well. I'm a little bit harsher than you. I think he should make that play. Cooper DeJean is so good when it comes to route distribution. It's sort of crazy for a rookie. He's a really, really smart dude. And I think because he's super athletic and he gets a lot of like talk for being, the white athletic defensive back, that there's a lot of talk about, like, people talk about his like physical skills, his tackling, his fancy celebration against the Ravens that everyone loved. But he's really smart. He's really, really, really smart. I think this whole Eagles defense in general plays smart, to be honest with you. I'm not going to finish with a point about the refs. I want to get a point about the refs out the way just quickly. And I never do stuff like this. You guys know that I don't like talking about this ever. I don't know why, but I think it's because the Eagles didn't give up much this week, and they scored a touchdown off of a drive when the Eagles got flagged for an absolutely nonsense roughing the passer, or whatever that you want to call it. Well, not roughing the passer, it was unnecessary roughness, wasn't it? Or whatever the hell they called it. I think I've got it in my film for a change. I'm just bringing it up. I can't remember what one it was. If you haven't got it in front of you, I will tell you. It is play 6. Like, genuinely, what do we do in the NFL? And I'm asking this as like a big picture point. Like, tell me what players are meant to do when you have a guy coming into the game who is clearly coming into the running quarterback. He's running a play. He has no intention of throwing it. I don't even think he slides. I think he falls over, and Reed Blankenship barely hits him. Am I going mad, Shane? Am I being unfair and that Reed Blankenship does do anything wrong here? Like, how are you meant to play defense against quarterbacks? And again, I don't talk about refs at all, but like, I just don't know what you are supposed to do anymore against quarterbacks that are running. Like, am I mad, or is this just a ridiculous call?
Yeah, no, that was a ridiculous call. You can't slide that late and expect to not get hit if this is a slide. Like, Reed Blankenship is basically contacting him before he starts to go down. Like,
it's ridiculous.
The Azeez Al-Shaair thing on Trevor Lawrence is egregious. Trevor Lawrence is sliding awful. 4 yards early, and he throws the forearm into the face. Like, but here, Reach is coming down to tackle a guy that's a dynamic runner. And
seriously, what makes him a QB here as well? He takes a snap. There's no intention of passing the ball. Like, I know QBs are treated differently, but there's got to be common sense. Like, this guy's running the set. Like, you can't. This guy's a running back. You treat him like a running back. And I'm not saying Justin Fields is a running back before you all comment. I quite like Justin Fields in some ways. But like, he's clearly in the game here to run the football. And the other thing I think that the other reason I wanted to mention this play was nothing to do with the Eagles defense, despite the fact I've just mentioned the Eagles defense. But I talk about how much of a cheat code the quarterback is in the run game. You have teams like the Steelers who bring in a mobile QB to get +1 in the run game. If you have a mobile QB, you are +1 in the run game every single snap. And I think that's a pretty cool feeling, knowing the Eagles have a mobile quarterback and they don't need to bring in some random guy to run it. Because we've seen other teams do this year as well. When Richardson was on the bench, he would come in for the Colts as well. Speaking of Andy Richardson, really good week again this week. I'm so glad lots of QB experts ranked him above Jalen Hurts in the offseason, considering he had a grand total of about 10 passes going into this season. I get so salty about Hurts, man. I don't even think he's as good as some people say, but some of the guys he's compared to is nonsense. Right, because that was a very quick point, I'll go straight into my third chain, and I'll let you bring it home, because I think Nolan deserves the final point this week. But you're going to show me something else. Yeah, go for it.
This is a 5'8" running back, Jalen Warren.
I love Jalen Warren, man.
Barely tops 200 pounds. What's your nightmare situation as a 5'8", 200-pound running back is to be lead blocking for your quarterback through a hole.
He will do it.
And all of a sudden, 6'6", 330-pound Jordan Davis is running at you with a full head of steam, and you've got to get in that guy's way. And shout out to Jalen Warren.
He
awesome. Does it, and it prevents Jordan Davis from making the play. But it just looks funny because it almost looks like Jordan Davis just doesn't see him and runs over him and trips him. So I just wanted to point that out. If you guys didn't catch that part, just watch Jalen Warren through the hole here.
Oh, dear. Man, hot take. We've actually had this discussion in the Discord. I'm Jalen Warren over Najee Harris all day long.
Yeah. Jordan Davis looks down. I don't know. So I've got a cat. I got a house cat. And occasionally, the house cat like gets in your feet. You didn't see him. You like kind of trip and look down to see what happened. That's like exactly the body language Jordan Davis has here. He like, why am I falling over? Oh, there's a small man that I stepped on. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm big Jalen Warren fan. I think he's awesome. He will get down dirty in the run game as well. Right, let's go for my final point. I think it's apt that you end with Nolan Smith this week, because I really do think it was a good Nolan Smith game. So I'm going to end with the Eagles on third down. There are some teams, right, that do fancy things on third down. They blitz. The Eagles don't. The Eagles just play really good defensive coverage. It's normally zone. It's normally split safety. And they were so hard to throw on in this game. They were so hard. I've got a couple of clips I want to show. The first one is play number 4 on my film thread. I think they're running half quarter here, which is where you play half to the strong side.
Sorry, what play did you say it was?
Play 4. Play 4. Half to the strong side and quarter to the weak side. And just look in general, for those of you watching at home, like there's just nothing here. Like Quinion Mitchell gets the advantage of having a half corner on top of him, so he can press a little bit. He plays it nicely. Darius Slay locks down the outside comeback route. The linebackers get really good depth. They know exactly where they're going. They know who's releasing for the linebacker. There's nothing vertical. The slot corner, I think it's DeJean, takes the linebacker. Zach Bourne doesn't pass him off until he gets to a certain depth. Like, it's just really good stuff. There's nothing fancy. The Eagles, as I said, run loads of this zone coverage. They run loads of split safety coverage, half quarter here. Like, it's just so obvious and it's so well coached. There's no gimmicks. The Nolan Smith's like a wrecking ball here, by the way. So is Josh Sweat, but we'll save him. We'll save him for later. And then my favorite one, Shane, by a mile, and we're going to talk about the rookie cornerback again, is play. What is it? Please that tweet. I did play 5 on my film thread. So the very next one. This was like 3rd and 18. And it may sound like, well, it's 3rd and 18. Of course they're not going to convert. But some teams place daft coverage on 3rd and 18. Look how open the guy in the flat is here. And this is good. I'm saying this is clever. Look at the guy running the out route. Quinion Mitchell was like, I ain't taking you. Can you remember in the past, I'm sure we've seen Bradbury giving up one of these, where what the Steelers are trying to do here is they're trying to get Quinion Mitchell to jump on the short route, and then they're trying to hit a shot behind him into the corner. And Quinion was just like, nah. Because he's so well coached. He's like, I don't care if you hit the corner. You are not converting 3rd and 18. Nakobe Dean, I think it's Nakobe Dean in the middle, does a great job getting in front of the throwing lane as well. And Darius Slay takes the backside receiver. Once again, the route distribution is awesome. The Eagles play tricks here, which means they've got Reed Blankenship coming across the formation to handle trips. So they're 5 over 3. They're 2 over 1. They need to leave someone else into block because the Eagles pass rush is winning. There's no reason to play cover 1 man. Remember when we used to see the Eagles play like cover 1 man on 3rd and long? We'd be like, why are you doing this? Please just sit back and give up the short stuff. we forget how dumb some NFL defenses can be, and we know because we've covered them. There's just nothing fancy. There's no gimmicks. It's 3rd and long. We'll play deep zone coverage. We're very disciplined. So Quinion Mitchell's not going to jump on the short route, even if he wants to probably jump on it and get a pick. Like, we take this for granted because teams do this stuff wrong every week around the NFL. And I've watched many an Eagles defense the past few years who would try something creative on 3rd and long or blitz and just play sticks, just play really good route distribution. Yeah, he did. It's a really good comment that Quinion did. That's a great comment. HHHH. That sounds like I'm just can't pronounce his name. But that is his name on the chat. I don't think he's commented before. So yeah, really, really good first comment. If that is the first one, he did make that exact issue earlier on in a situation when he didn't need to. And it sounds like easy for us to sit here and go, well, just don't jump, but it's not. These guys are out there playing multiple snaps. They got fans screaming. They got guys screaming in their ears. They got coaches going mad on the sideline. It's so easy for us to sit here and go, just don't jump. It's 3rd and long. But they're coached to react. Quinion Mitchell's coached to jump that route. And it's not easy just to say, leave it. It's 3rd and long. It's such a well-organized, well-disciplined pass defense. I cannot say enough about how impressed I was with the film this week. Like, the Steelers averaged, I think, 4 yards a play, but a lot of that came later on as well. 163 yards, like, it's barely anything. 3 out of 10 on 3rd down. The Eagles had a couple of sacks in there as well. Like, I know the offense played well, but I think the defense was utterly dominant in this one. And the Steelers are not a great offense, but they're not a terrible offense. They can do things well. Yeah, I cannot say enough good things about this Eagles defense this week.
Yeah, the Eagles defense is a lot of fun to watch. You mentioned, how many times in the past did we have to watch the Eagles play cover 1 on 3rd and long? I could shout out. I feel like I saw that on film somewhere this week. Oh yeah, that was the Steelers. Never mind. But let's get into the final play. And I actually am just realizing now that apologies to the Patreon members. I did not post a player spotlight poll this week. The show being on Tuesdays really thrown me off, but we're gonna pretend.
My fault. It's my fault. I have the Tuesdays. I'm at Arsenal tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's entirely my fault.
We're gonna pretend that I did post it and that you guys picked Nolan Smith for your Patreon player anyway. Spotlight. So that's who you guys would have voted for. I'm sure. We'll make it up to you at some point. Probably not next week, but. Let's talk about Nolan Smith. On the first play here that I'm going to show about 5 plays. The Steelers are going to bootleg towards him. And I just want you to see how explosive he is at the point that Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, chucks him to the side, lets him go and tries to release. Watch how quickly he accelerates at Russell Wilson. So right there, boom. And he's off. He's right in Wilson's face immediately. And there is nowhere to go with. It's so hard to throw that bootleg pass with somebody in your face that quickly. And Nolan Smith is just so athletic. He's so explosive. On the next play, Josh Sweat ends up with the sack, and Sweat has a good rush rep off the right side, but the right side of the screen, the left side on the field. But Nolan Smith here at the left of the screen, he's going to go through the tackle and a chip block, and he just totally collapses the pocket here. And it forces Wilson off of his spot. He's got nowhere to go, and Josh Sweat also gets home. So they both won. Josh Sweat gets the credit there. Okay, now I do need to show this play, and I need you guys to promise me something before I show it. I need you to promise me that we can celebrate the athleticism to pull this off while simultaneously saying don't do this. Because Nolan Smith is going to come flying off of the edge, and Jalen Warren is going to go try to block him, and Nolan Smith hurdles him. That's really cool. Like, that's sick that you can pull this off. Just because you can do that doesn't mean you should, because he gives up this scramble lane. This is 3rd and 2. Like, okay, that's sweet, right? You hurdle him. It'd be really cool if you hurdled him cleanly and you sacked Russell Wilson. But like, by the time Russell Wilson scrambles from the hash and he's like between the hashes by the time Nolan Smith hits the ground, in reality, we're just giving up contain. Russell Wilson scrambles for the first down. He's explosive athlete. We get it. Let's just not ever hurdle a running back again. We don't need to do that, but I digress. Let's go on. This tight end I've just circled is a guy named Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington was my tight end 1 a couple of drafts ago because he's a freak athlete.
Bad take.
It was a bad take, but he was a freak athlete who was an incredible blocker. Like I said in my draft report that I legitimately think he could play offensive tackle. Now, he didn't have a lot of receiving skills, which is why it was a bad take. But yeah, which is why it was a bad take, but that's okay. He's a phenomenal blocker. Okay. Nolan Smith just destroys him on this play. So watch Nolan Smith off of the edge here. Just totally just throws him. He sends him flying. Like, and again, this isn't just your typical tight end too. Like, this is a guy that's an incredible blocker, and he just sends him flying. And that's a great play, but then we'll end with his sack. Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith both win here, but it's Nolan Smith off of the edge who gets the sack this time, engages, and then disengages and is able to accelerate around the horn. And so Nolan Smith had an incredible game in this one. I would say, I don't know, I feel like this is probably Nolan Smith's best game of the year.
Best game of his career?
Yeah. By pressures, it is. He led the team with 5 pressures. He's got 12 pressures in the last 4 games. He has really come on down the stretch here, and I'm really happy for him. I probably had Nolan Smith graded too highly as well for athleticism reasons. I think I had him as like 15th or 16th overall in his draft, and where the Eagles got him was probably more right. And it's nice to see him really coming along in his second year.
Yeah, I did not have him that high, as many people know. Hashtag Dylan Smith hater over here. But I've always loved the way he plays. I just don't think he had the skills to be an elite pass rusher. But a lot of people know my theory on Fangio's defense. You don't need elite edge rushers anyway. It's more about having versatile edge rushers. They need to be able to play the run, drop into coverage, and rush the quarterback. But I think they load up inside, and a lot of their pass rush comes from the interior. Shane, we've actually done it without rushing in just over an hour and 15. I said I had an hour and 15. I think it's because we know the Eagles scheme so well now. That sounds really like arrogant, doesn't it? We're so good. We know everything. No, we've seen a lot of these plays. I'm not talking about run game again. Like, what do you want me to say? They run outside zone, inside zone, and counter. Like, occasionally, like they ran like crunch a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, something new. And now it's all very much the same. They feel like a well-oiled machine. This Fangio defense was nothing different, but players are stepping up. This was my favorite game of the season. The Eagles have won some big games, but I think they dominated a good team here. One of the first things I did when I watched the game, after I watched the game, was I checked the EPA per play numbers. And like anyone that uses that RB website, whatever it's called, where you have the EPA numbers on like the box score. And if anyone knows what I'm talking about, they'll know what I'm saying here. When you
do you know what that acronym stands for?
I haven't got a Scooby. What is it?
Oh, I'm going to tell you, and then you'll remember the site easier.
Yep.
It stands for running backs don't matter. RBSDM.
Oh, I don't want to use it anymore. What an embarrassing website. Oh no! Right, cancel the running backs don't matter website. Is it really?
Yeah. That's
what a joke.
That's what it initially stood for. Yeah.
That is. Anyway, number one, that's horrendous. So that sucks. But like when you click on the numbers, anyone that uses that website, and it gives you like, if it's good, it's green. If it's really good, it's really dark green. And if it's bad, it's purple. And if it's really bad, it's really dark purple. If you don't use the website, you haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. But long story short, when the Eagles game came up on offense, it's just a bunch of green. The pass game is just dark green. Late downs, dark green. 71% success rate on late downs in this week. The only thing that was bad was the early down rush game. But I still think it had a point. Jalen Hurts, 0.37 EPA per play. Like total EPA of 17.1. Like insane numbers. And then the Steelers offense is just dark purple everywhere. The only good thing is their late rush percentage, because they had one play that was a success from a late down carry. Everything else is bad. Russell Wilson, negative EPA of 5 total. Najee Harris, negative EPA. Jalen Moore, negative EPA. Like everything is bad. It was just pure domination of a very well coached, very strong team. So yeah, I feel like that's all I got, Shane. I feel like a really, really, really good week. Big game this weekend. You hinted this early on, but it will be Christmas Eve next Tuesday, and Shane is traveling, so I'm going to try and go solo for you lovely people. We try and do every week, but give us a little break. It is Christmas. I will definitely have all the film Fred's BJ and articles up by Christmas Eve because I'm off work next week. So I will try and go solo next week. So if you want to see an absolute car crash on Christmas Eve, come and watch me attempt to run this website we use that I've never got in my past. The clips probably won't work. I'll probably have a meltdown. The sound will all go wrong. So if you want to see a 30-year-old man have a meltdown on Christmas Eve, then please tune in next week for the solo pod. Yeah, Krabby, it'll probably be a similar time. I probably have family stuff. And when I tell my wife that I'm doing a podcast next Tuesday, she'll go, "You what?" So I'll have that conversation off air. But I wouldn't be surprised if I'm at my family's at some point on the Christmas Eve. It will be either a little bit earlier than today or the same time or a little bit later. But I will get something up for you next Tuesday.
How many new Patreon members do you need to have that conversation with your wife on air?
Yeah. We get like 5 in as I'm speaking now. Like, when it's a job. So I have to do it. That big 15 quid is going to make a massive difference. That's an extra Christmas present for you. Think about it.
Yes.
That's the only way I can phrase it clearly. But yeah, just so you're aware, next week will be a little bit random. And then I think it gets even better because I am away the next week, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. I may do a good old fashioned hotel show, which my wife will definitely be even more happy when I tell her that I'm bringing my microphone to on holiday with me, and I'm just whacking out my laptop because I've still got to watch the film. So might as well do the pod anyway. So there you go. When I'm divorced in 2 weeks' time, then you guys know why. So there we go.
So we're gonna hold all the Patreon contributions right now in Patreon, so it doesn't get tagged on to Johnny's alimony in a couple weeks. I don't even know if that's how that works over there, but. Yeah, you mentioned earlier, we just know the Eagles' schemes now. Could you imagine if the Eagles have the same coordinators next year?
Oh my God!
That's never happened. But yeah, that'll be cool. So just again, housekeeping stuff. Next week, Johnny's going to solo the pod, and I will not have a Hurts film review. I'm basically gone all week, so apologies for that. Hopefully, the Eagles win in a blowout, and there's nothing interesting. I will be on post game still after the game, but I leave Monday afternoon. The following week, I'll be back and everything will be normal. I'll get a past game review out. I'll either solo a show or Johnny and I will do one. So you'll have a show every week. Next week might be sketchy, though, because I run all the technology. So hopefully it works for Johnny. And if it doesn't, I won't be around to help him. So he's going to have to sink or swim on that one.
We will see. We will see.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. We truly appreciate each and every one of you for tuning into the live shows, downloading the podcast. Those of you that are Patreon members, if you're not, consider checking that out. There's a free tier. There's a $3 and a $5 a month tier. Again, you can get free week trials of any of the above. Come hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you guys all have a great Christmas. And I will see you guys on this show on the other side of Christmas, although I'll be in your feed in between now and then. So from all the Eagles Pinpool Network crew, Merry Christmas and go Birds.